What's happening, everybody? Happy Thursday and welcome to the Big Bet Podcast. I am your host, Memphis, and you can follow along with me on Twitter at DWZ Memphis. And I'm not alone this week. Got through the New Year's Eve weekend, the holidays, flying solo, but he is back. You know him as Dr. Kyle. I know him as the dirtiest player in the game today. Dr. Kyle, man, welcome back. How was your New Year?
New Year was great. It was a very relaxing, enjoyable, safe couple weeks. Got to see some family in small doses. Family is always good in small doses, I think, anyway. And enjoyed the New Year's. I think, my lowest step count, my lowest 3-day step count total was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So really starting the New Year off very active. I digress. I'm kidding. I like to be active, but man, New Year's Day, I think I sat in one chair for like 5 or 6 hours playing a little bit of fun poker and blackjack with my wife's family. So that was good. But happy to be back. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks since I've been on this with you. We're in 2021.
We have missed you. We have missed you, Dr. Kyle. So glad to have you back. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to get into all of the weekend game. One thing you're going to notice is we're not doing the DFS stuff anymore. I'm going to get into that in just a second. So what's on the horizon? I promise to keep the intro short. We made that promise. So the Dynasty Happy Hour Contractor's back. I'll be doing that live on the Dynasty Warzone YouTube. But if you're a podcast consumer, you'll have to consume that on the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast family of shows. And I mentioned earlier, there will be no DFS on tonight's show. It's just me and Dr. Kyle. We're going to go through all 6 games. We're going to give you some of the bets we like best. I think you're going to like this new format. We are turning over the DFS keys to the kingdom to Tyler and Lou. These guys are from the Fantasy Hot Read, and they are going to be covering all the DFS action this weekend on the YouTube here at the Dynasty Warzone around lunchtime, around 11:30 Eastern. On Saturday, they'll cover the Saturday and Sunday slate, and then I will sandwich the People's Propcast together with the DFS show. We'll get that out in time for the games. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube for the DFS content. And I will have the People's Propcast. Dr. Kyle, now I know you've been a little frigid, you've been a little cold. I wrapped up the regular season of props 23-8. I made it tougher. I made it tougher on myself on week 17. Instead of going 3 props, I went 4, thinking, okay, I may not get a winning week. I may get a tie, but still went 3-1. I would like to blame CeeDee Lamb for dropping that would-be touchdown at the end of the game. I'm sure Giants fans would too, but they're too busy blaming. They're too busy blaming the Eagles. Well, let's see what else we got going on, and then just real quick in the rear view on the Dynasty Warzone on Wednesday's podcast, Tuesday on YouTube, we had Mark Schofield of Touchdown Wire, which is a USA Today production. He came on and he covered 6 rookie quarterbacks. So if you're into draft coverage, if you're into Dynasty, if you want to get a heads up on your league mates about this rookie class coming up, you got to check out Mark. He was an ace. And then one of our most popular shows we've had in a while, Mock Draft Monday. We had a mock draft on Monday. We did a 1-round Superflex tight end premium rookie draft. And Dr. Kyle, I don't know if you're stopping by or not because you're a busy man. You know what we're doing on Mock Draft Monday this coming Monday?
You say we're drafting wide receivers from the last 3 seasons, last 2 seasons in this upcoming rookie draft, right?
So for those of you watching live on Twitter and YouTube, this is my shocked face. This is me thinking, oh my God, Dr. Kyle actually read the notes.
And it took 17 weeks.
17. This is truly a wild card for me. He did read the show notes this time. No, that's exactly right.
He really cares.
We are going to take the rookie class of 2019, of 2020, and then this upcoming rookie class of wide receivers, and we're going to draft. So you say you're a Jamar Chase fan. How big of a fan are you when you're on the clock and you got to choose between, say, Jamar Chase and A.J. Brown? Oh, you're a Devonta Smith fan. He won the Heisman. Okay, cool. How big of a Devonta Smith fan are you when Terry McLaurin or DK Metcalf is staring you dead in the face? We're going to find out live and in living color on Monday when we jump on to do a mock draft on Monday. Yeah, I know it's a national championship game, but the show goes on. So thank you guys for everything that you've been doing to support us. Just don't sleep on us, man. We're going to continue to give you anything football related that you love. We're going to have fantasy. We're going to have dynasty. We're going to have gambling on football. We're going to have football content coming out our ears, and we're just getting started. We're going to have 3 to 5 shows per week here at the DWZ Football Network and 5-star reviews. Dr. Kyle, I would love to read these people a 5-star review, but I can't read them if you don't write them. So if you want to hear your review on the show, wherever you're listening to this fine podcast, just hit pause. Go over to the rating and review section and leave us how many stars, Dr. Kyle?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. And bonus, throw in a trade. Guys, trading season. We are in prime trading season. We're trying to acquire guys that didn't end the season so strong that you like for next year. Maybe you can still acquire a rookie pick, though it's only going to get harder between now and March, especially April, May, when those drafts start coming. So get some free advice. How long does it take to do a 5-star review? 30 seconds, if that?
Not very long, but if you do put a trade in a review, make sure you put Superflex, tight end premium, what have you, so that way I can give you the best context I have. Because, Dr. Kyle, there are exactly 2 groups of people I will answer a trade for. Two people.
Let's hear 'em.
Our Patreons at patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. I do that many times a day. Or people who do reviews. You can tag me in trades on Twitter. I would love to, retweet it. I'll answer and move on. But if you want in-depth analysis, you've either got to be a Patreon, which pay is in the name, or you can do a 5-star review for this network of podcasts and leave it there, and that's where I'll take care of it. So 2 ways to get me to help you with your trade. And if you're not on social media, you're not following along at Dynasty Warzone on Twitter or DWZ Memphis or DWZ_Dr. PT, cool. Hit me up on dynastywarzone@gmail.com. Everybody's got email. Even my dear mother can operate an email. So hit me up with an email. But Dr. Kyle, under 7-minute intro. How about that? We covered a lot of stuff. But
Yeah.
Are you ready to talk about some big bets?
I am.
All right. Well, I am going to tell you that this first segment is brought to you by the folks at Viridian Global. That is our apparel provider. I've got my stuff in the mail. Now, in my case, it's coming USPS. They're a little backed up right now. I'm waiting on a lot of Christmas gifts still to be delivered via the USPS, but it bees that way sometimes. But if you're looking for the best Dynasty apparel in the game, go to Viridian Global. That's VERIDIAN, Viridian Global. And you can check out our Top Gun inspired shirts. You can check out our NWO inspired shirts. We have dad hats. We have hoodies. We have tees. We have raglans. There's even still Jim Bro tank tops. That's courtesy of Matty Big Chest. He wants to flex, big pecs, big flex with Matty Big Chest. But head over to Viridian Global. Not only do they have Dynasty Warzone merch, but they have signature player T-shirts like the Hawkamania in honor of TJ Hawkinson. They have Aaron Godgers in favor of Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot of great stuff at the fine folks of Viridian Global. So head over to viridianglobal.com. Make sure to pick up at least one DWZ item and but shop around. They have promos and promotions going all the time. You'll find that on the homepage of Viridian Global. So Dr. Kyle, you want to review your bets from last week that you made whilst on the road?
Yeah, so I went with 3 totals last week just because there was a lot up in the air with who was going to be playing in what games. I sent them to you on Wednesday afternoon. So not knowing who was and wasn't playing, I felt the best way to go was totals. The ones I gave you, I was only 2 out of 3 on, but man, the Seattle Niners under whatever that was, holy smokes. I mean, that I think the score at the end of the third was like 9-6. I'm like, cash that one. And then all of a sudden there was a 34-point fourth quarter. And I'm like, how the hell did that happen? So, I still think I wouldn't change my bet on that one. That's one where, stuff happens. And then the other one was Bengals Ravens over 44.5. That total was at 41 in the third quarter. And there was the Ravens had a 4th and inches inside the Bengals red zone that they did not convert. And of course it's like they run the ball. So they're just killing clock. And I'm like, field goal, nothing. And then the Bengals go back the other way, get into the red zone, field goal, touchdown, and the Bengals throw an interception in the end zone. So, look, this is why you have to play. You got to play the long game. You got to play the numbers. I'm reminded by Fez and RJ on one of the Straight Out of Vegas I was listening to this week, where one of their key tenets is being able to look at multiple books. And being in New York right now, the only one I can look at is my bookie. But I think about all the games this year where you push or lose by half a point or a point. That could probably be avoided in a good chunk of cases if you're looking at 3 books, 4 books, whenever you can. There could be hope on the horizon with Cuomo saying he supports it, but we'll see. But my big bet last week was Packers and Bears total over 50.5. And I thought that was going to be a smash. I told you I liked it up to 53. I caught it at 50.5, and it was 51. So, I'll take it. I needed to go out with a big bet, winner, and I went, 10-5 and 10-6-1 on the season on my big bet.
Yeah, I had an okay week. I smashed player props. I bet more player props cumulatively over the last weekend than I had all year. The 4 that I mentioned on the People's Propcast, I went 3-1, but I was firing more. Something we'll cover in the off season is, and I shared this in our Patreon betting chat, because the Patreon's gotten to the point to where we have the dynasty based Patreon and then we have the betting group on Patreon. We're going to do some fun stuff with that this weekend with shuttling some stuff around. We don't want to break any interstate laws, so we'll keep that on the DL. That's a patron level. That's a patron level move, but a lot of fun over there. I didn't do a lot of sides this week or totals. I had the Jets +3 at New England. That was a stone loser. Man, after beating 2 playoff teams in back-to-back weeks, I thought the Jets would have come out a lot more aggressive against a team that had bullied Sam Darnold, had him seeing ghosts last year. I thought, man, here's your chance to catch a wounded dog. Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham had 34 yards passing apiece in the previous game. Here was your shot. Nope. In classic Jets fashion, they took a beating, 28-14. So that was a loss. You mentioned that Seattle and San Francisco game. That was my big bet. I'll wrap that in just a second. And then I had Pittsburgh +10 at Cleveland. It's still Cleveland, and it's still Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, they were benching Big Ben because he's old. And if you followed along due to COVID, I am no Steelers apologist, but they kind of got the shaft as it related to buys, and they end up having to take their buy in like week 4 or 5 really early. And that's a veteran-laden team, especially with Big Ben and along the offensive line. And I know they gave some guys some rest. So, but I still felt like that was just too big of a number. I mean, who is Cleveland to get margin on anybody by double digits? They barely beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville.
It felt like it could be like a letdown spot. I mean, I admittedly, like, I took the Steelers money line in a couple parlays. Just like, I was like, there's no way this game is going to be a 10-point game. I don't care how bad you think Mason Rudolph is. This is going to be a bad spot for the Browns. They're going to come out. Baker Mayfield is one of those, like, they talk about him like he feels like he's like a little bit of a hothead. Like when he's high, when he's low sort of thing. And it probably just came out a little bit cocky. And the Steelers, the Steelers play hard, even if it's not Big Ben and co. So the 2-point conversion away from maybe putting it into overtime and hitting some of those parlays, but those are some fun bets.
Yeah, and then my big bet again, I had Seattle +6.5 I had San Francisco +6.5 at Seattle, and that one was weird. They got down 10, and I was like, I'm gonna take the word. There was a turnover in there. And all of a sudden, and then they scored this cheap touchdown at the end of the season. So I kind of felt like that was Kyle Shanahan getting right with me from that game earlier on a Thursday night against Green Bay, where they scored some garbage time BS touchdown with Jerick McKinnon with 4 seconds left to go in a meaningless game. Not that I'm bitter or remember, but just randomly popped in my head. So I felt like that was Kyle Shanahan and the Niners getting right with your boy here. So I went 2-1 overall. On big bets on the season, I finished 10-7. So I'm happy with that. I would have loved to have went 11-5 and been well over 60%. But I still feel like for our first year doing this, and next year we're going to get verified on Fantasy Pros the same way Fantasy Pros does verification for fantasy rankers, people who do weekly rankings and they send out the most accurate. They also do that with gambling shows and gambling content providers. And that's part of our off-season to-do list. Our, postseason wrap-up checklist is Dr. Kyle and I getting on the list of verified rankers so that when we put out our bets, it's verified by a trusted source like Fantasy Pro. So that's in our off-season. That was our week 17. But are you ready to talk about action that's coming up? We're going to do this a little bit different. I'm going to get into that in just a second, but are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, man. This next segment is brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. And if you happen to live in a state where you just can't get on DraftKings or you just can't get on FanDuel, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the smiling face of Dr. Kyle. Man, that makes mybookie.ag a great place to turn. Dr. Kyle has turned there as his primary source of action. That is his primary out. Now, I happen to live in the great state of Indiana, so I have multiple outs. But if you don't have a out and you want to go with a trusted out, go with mybookie.ag. Don't call Billy at the bar or, the guy who operates a book out of the back of a car dealership and settle up days Tuesday when you can go to an actual trusted online provider of action, and that's mybookie.ag. Use the promo code DWZ Memphis, and you will get a sign-up bonus up to 50%. So if you deposit $1,000, that would be the max. They would match that up to $500. So you would get $1,500 on a deposit of $1,000. $100, you would get a match of $50. You can do your own math. If you're listening to a gambling show, you probably got those math skills. But mybookie.ag, if you're listening on the podcast, just pause the show. It's in the show notes. Hyperlink right to MyBookie. And it takes you right to the sign-up page, and the promo code's already in there. So we've got all this covered for you. If you're just looking for an out, if you're sitting here saying to yourself, damn, I'd like to get in on some of this action with Memphis and Kyle, how can I do it? mybookie.ag. 60% of the U.S. can't bet legally on apps. It's coming, like Kyle mentioned earlier with Governor Cuomo in New York. But until then, make sure you check out our friends at MyBookie. Dr. Kyle will tell you from firsthand experience they treat you very well. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, they've been great. They're always ready to settle up, and they have been great in the question department. Anytime I've had an issue, I went right to a message or two, and they take care of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I love the customer service over there. I do have an account, even though I am in Indiana. Of course I do. They're a great sponsor and they give great action. So anyone who gives great action deserves great action. So here's what we're going to do. Normally we would go through a couple of games that we like, a couple of games that we're going to lean toward, and then we would save some time at the end for DFS. Again, all that DFS stuff is going to be taken care of by true DFS experts. Lou, one of the hosts that's going to cover the DFS for us on Saturday, he recently won 10 grand playing DFS. Now, Dr. Kyle, I would have to min cash I think 1,500 times, maybe 1,200 times to win 10 grand. And my man Lou at Lou Dog Sports on Twitter, he won 10 grand recently. So a great DFS guy. So we got to, we want to provide DFS content, but I learned a long time ago, if you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to nobody. And we're really good with the dynasty stuff. We're really good with the betting stuff. But we're going to bring in redraft content providers. We're going to bring in DFS content providers. So we're going to let Lou and Tyler take care of that on Saturday for us, and we're just going to stick to the games. And then I'll do the props on Saturday. So we're going to go through. We're going to cover each game, and then Dr. Kyle and I are going to rank 6 bets. We're going to tell you this is my most confident bet, this is my highest ranked, or this is my lowest ranked, or I have nothing on the game, but I'll still give you a lean. And any bet of a confidence level of 3 or higher, if I don't like it, I can pull the trigger on Dr. Kyle and we can have a cross bet. So if he says he likes this game minus this, and I'm going to say, you got to bet, because I don't have a fancy sound effect yet, but I'm working on one. So this is new. This is something we'll be doing a lot more of in 2021. But there's no point in running through a format that's not the best, because we're here to entertain you as well as make you money. So we're going to have some fun. I'll kick off the first game. We're going to go in chronological order. We're going to start 1 p.m. on Saturday Indianapolis Colts plus 6.5 points at Buffalo. Total of 51 points. This information was brought to you by mybookie.ag. And the over 51 is my big bet right out of the chute. My big bet, my highest ranked bet is Buffalo and Indy over 51 points. Dr. Kyle, what do you think before I give my handicap?
That is lovely. That is my second highest rank. That's my 5-pointer. If we're going, each one's worth
Five
as many
star?
points. Yeah. That's my 5-star. That's my 5-star review. I love it. I mean, they've been
Do you
like
have anything on the side? Do you have anything on the side of the 6.5?
Oh, I'm my one, so my sixth highest ranked, my 1-pointer. I'm on Bills minus 6.5. I know it's so close to a touchdown. I would love for the Colts to catch some steam at some point. I don't know how they will. They're not a super public team. It's in Buffalo. I think 6.5 is probably as good as you're going to get it, but the Bills are buzzing right now. They are bullying everybody. I love that Sean McDermott gave the starters a chance to play a bit in week 17. I think that's super valuable. How many times in the past have we seen, Peyton Manning take off week 17, get the bye, and then they come out off the bye against one of the wild card winners and it's just a dud. I'm curious as to what will happen with the Chiefs, who haven't been covering much. I'm getting too much into another game. I like Bill 6.5. If it got down to 6 or 5.5, I think that is a very, very, very strong bet. At 6.5, I think you really have to like the Bills and their offense. A key thing in this game is that Anthony Costanzo, the left tackle for Phillip Rivers, he is done for the season. And so I don't know if this Colts team can really hang with the Bills in a shootout. Now, the Bills aren't great against the run, and the Colts have been very good running the ball lately. So I think that will be the Colts game plan. And perhaps I trust Frank Reich as a coach a little bit more than Sean McDermott. But I think this Bills team is the real deal. At the beginning of the season, we were both on the Bills to win that AFC East, to go over their win total. And aside from their little COVID hiccupy schedule in, that first third of the season, they have just been dominating, and they could be the real deal. It's crazy to say like that the Bills have a legitimate shot at a Super Bowl this year. What say you? Do you have a lean or a like on this one?
I also lean to the Bills laying the 6.5. If it gets to 7 or 7.5, I have no interest. First of all, this Colts team. So you were talking about the over. That's my highest rated bet of the week. Over 51. The Buffalo Bills have scored 501 points on the season. In 16 games, that's 31.3 points a game. But here's the thing. You said the Indy's offense can't hang with them. Well, that's where you're wrong. Indy's offense has scored the 9th most points in the league. It doesn't feel like it, but they scored the 9th most, and against some okay defenses along the way. But neither one of these defenses are great. And the big thing is neither one of these teams create a lot of pressure on the quarterback. If you go to Pro Football Reference and you look at some of their defensive metrics, neither one of these teams generate a lot of sacks. They do okay. They're toward the middle of the pack, but neither one of these do well. But again, the Bills average 31.3 points per game, and the Colts average 28 points a game. You wouldn't think about. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, maybe I should clarify. Yes, the Colts are clearly an over team. They're clearly scoring points. But to me, they feel like a team when they're up, they're comfortable, a little too comfortable, especially in that Steelers game. I haven't looked at the splits, but I feel like the Colts in the second half over the past 5-6 weeks are putting up less than half the points they're putting up in the first half. Whereas I feel like the Bills are staying on the gas pedal. So I feel like if the Colts get behind in this game, Phillip Rivers, having a lean on Phillip Rivers without his left tackle is cause for concern. That the over, I'm sure will be fine. I'm sure there's going to be, I don't know.
This is the part where
30
I should
points
just start
or
hammering.
first half.
I wish you were going the other way so I could put the crossfire on you, because do the Bills generate a pass rush? Even without the left tackle, the Bills are, I think, 23rd in the league in QB pressure. So if the Bills if they don't generate a pass rush, does it really that Anthony Thon's not there? I'm looking at the defensive metrics right now for
Buffalo is 11th in the league in defense against passing yards.
So
So
okay,
I would say they're
but you're talking pressure. You're talking QB pressure, and Buffalo is in the middle of the pack. They knock down the quarterback 7% of the time. They hurry the quarterback 8.8% of the time. You know, if you listen to anything, I was listening to Mark Schler's podcast today, and he was saying that the one thing Buffalo Bills are missing is a big war daddy defensive end that can really get after the passer. So even without Anthony Costanzo, you're not going to get after Phillip Rivers, at least to that point. And Phillip Rivers is going to check the ball down. So yes, it would be better with Anthony Costanzo, but that does not bother me. Also, the weather in this game. The weather in this game is supposed to be a high of 34, sunny. 5% chance of precipitation. So this game favors over. I got two teams that on average score 60 points a game. And we're going to go into a game with good weather for Buffalo, because normally in Buffalo you could have 2 feet of snow. These teams played 4 years ago in Buffalo in a regular season game, and it was literally 18 inches of snow. And they were doing everything they can just to make the game playable. That's not the case. The weather's going to be fairly good. Thank you, global warming. Good for something. And so we're gonna get a good game, and I think it's going to be a shootout. You know, if the Colts get up on Buffalo, they can come back, and if the Colts, you know, get behind, I do believe they can come back.
I
As
don't
I
know.
don't believe Buffalo.
How can we turn that information into a bet? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Because I feel like if Buffalo is up by more than 7 points at any point in the second half, I don't think the Colts have a shot.
Well, I'm just looking at the Colts' last handful of games. They scored 28 this week, 24 against the Steelers, 27, 40,
21 of those points against the Steelers were in the first half. That was my best bet
but
that
did
week.
they score them?
Yeah, in the first half.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. As long as they get it within the 60 minutes plus overtime, they all count. They scored 26 against Houston, 26 against Tennessee, 34 against the Packers, 34 against the Titans. Oh, all those are playoff teams, by the way. They scored 41 against the Lions, 31 against the Bengals, 23 against the Browns. This is an over team. This is a top 10 offense in the league against the top 5.
It's an over team.
So why would you be pushing back that could be possibly an under? You're concerned
I'm
with
not
what?
pushing back that it's an under. I'm saying as far as sides go, I like the Bills because I feel like the Colts aren't. I don't think the Colts are going to come back from more than a possession in the second half.
I
That's
agree
not
with
who
you.
they are.
I said that I leaned to the Bills minus the 6.5. I'm talking about, you asked me what I thought about the 51, and that's what I'm talking
No.
about.
I asked you about the side.
I lean to Buffalo. But if you told me that Frank Reich and the Colts went into Buffalo and beat them, I'm not surprised. I'm not
No, I'm
surprised
not
one
either.
bit. Because how do
I
you
think
beat them?
it's going to be in the first half, though.
Well, I tell you, it's going to be all game long. How do you beat a team with a high-powered offense? As a former Peyton Manning Colts fan, I remember watching for years where Corey Dillon of the New England Patriots was just running the ball, and that quarterback just stands there. How'd the Colts beat Green Bay in the second half when they were down? How many points and they came back against the playoff team, the number 1 seed, arguably the second best team in the league? How'd they do it?
Weren't the Colts up by like 21 points in that game?
No, they were behind by like 12 or 14 at the half. And they came back in the second half because of the time of possession. What'd they do?
Right.
They pounded the ball with they pounded the ball with Jonathan Taylor, and they kept Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. How do you keep a hot-handed quarterback from beating you? You run the ball, and you dominate time of possession. Now, does that favor my over bet? It does not. But if you want me to tell you how can they beat the Buffalo Bills, that's how they would beat them.
I agree. Yeah, Buffalo is bottom third of the league against the run.
All right, let's jump into this next game. The next game is the LA Rams plus 4.5, and they're at Seattle, and a total of 42.5. The under in this game is my 3-star. My 3-star is under 42.5. I've actually already bet this game under 43. I got it earlier in the week.
That's my 3-star too.
So what do you like? And then I lean to the Rams plus the 4.5. That's just a lean. But what do you like about the under?
I like that the the Seahawks game last week really should have been an under game. What happened in the fourth quarter there was quite an anomaly, I would say. Both teams are trying to run the ball these days. Seahawks have not been good passing the ball. The Rams are without Jared Goff. Both teams have good run defenses, and this will be the third time they've seen each other this year. It just, to me, it has all the makings of I'm not making the first mistake. I'm going to run the ball, run the ball. We're going to challenge you for field possession, and we will take every field goal we can get. The Rams defense has the Seahawks offense number. I just don't know if you said you lean the Rams plus 4.5. I saw the Seahawks were minus 3.5. And if at 3.5, I'm I think I'd take the Seahawks just because it's Russell Wilson against, John Wolford or whatever, he sounds like a president from the early 1800s.
Well, he is a guy. So even with Jared Goff and Russell Wilson, so they played on November 15th in LA, and then they played a couple of weeks ago, December 27th. Those two games, one total was 39.
Yeah.
The other total was 29, and that was with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
So I don't see the Seattle Seahawks, who have put up a combined 36 points or 18 points a game on this defense, all of a sudden being able to break out. And I like the fact that the defense knows they have to carry this game.
Yeah.
So these two teams have come nowhere near, well, I guess 39 is near, but they have not exceeded 42.5 points. And you're missing one of the better quarterbacks. So I like this game. Like I said, I really see this being a field goal game. I think John Wolford and his, he got those butterflies out of his way in a win and you're in situation last week against Arizona. And even though it was against a fellow backup quarterback, he got some firsthand reps. They're going to get Cooper Kupp back, which will help tremendously.
Yeah, and Cooper Kupp is a great coastal. Cooper Kupp is he's your third down run game.
He is that play action. And I will say this. I was listening. I don't remember whose podcast it was. It wasn't fantasy related or gambling, but they were talking about how John Wolford is so much more mobile than Jared Goff and is a better fit. Now, in short batches, it's kind of like Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts came out against Philadelphia, and then he had the game against New Orleans, and then he had the game against Arizona, he did good, right? Element of surprise. We don't have a lot of tape on him. But the more tape we've gotten on Jalen Hurts, the more he's been exposed. And I think that could be the case with John Wolford. But I think McVay will scheme him up regardless. I like the under on a 3-star. And like I said, I've already bet this. I bet this earlier in the week. So we're in agreement there. You're leaning toward the Seahawks on the total, but I'm on the side, and I'm leaning toward LA, but not a bet for either one of us there, right?
Let me ask you this: would you do an even money bet given the Seahawks laying 3.5?
No, I have no interest in backing that Seahawks team.
No, I'm saying I'll take the Seahawks laying 3.5 if you want the Rams at 3.5, not 4.5.
We can talk on game day. I want to see because I will just tell you I've seen the difference between the Seattle defense with and without Jamal Adams, and since Carlos Dunlap. So if Jamal Adams is out, who they're already calling a game time decision. Yeah. If I don't see Shefty tweeting out on the game day morning that you're a game time decision, and you're telling me on Wednesday you're a game time decision, you're probably not playing. So maybe he will. But I think that's the liability that they can do because he's a big part of the run-stopping game in Seattle, and you're going to have Cam Akers another week healthier in the lineup. So that's my game. The next game, it's the only game I got nothing on.
Yeah, Memphis. Quick update on Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams says, "No question in my mind, I'm playing."
Well, what else is he supposed to say? Last week, Daniel Jones told us the truth that he wasn't going to run very much because his hamstring was still bothering him, and he got lambasted by everybody in the media. It's like we want these athletes to tell us the truth, and then when they do, we yell at them. No wonder they don't tell us the truth. Last week, Daniel Jones told us the truth, and we all took shots at him, and his head coach was like, well, and then here we go. Jamal Adams says he's going to play. Forgive me if I don't believe him.
He did at least practice this week.
Like I said, I will believe it when I actually see him in pads and I get he's active. And then how long can he stay in the game? That's the
Fair enough.
next part of an injured player. The next game, the Saturday night game, and I have no idea why are you not putting an 11 win Indianapolis team and a 13-win Buffalo team in prime time. You're going to bury that game at
Tom
1
Brady.
o'clock.
That's why.
Well,
Tom Brady.
But that's not good business. It's not good business. I know it's good business in the short term, but if you want to grow Josh Allen as an MVP candidate into the next draw on prime time, you might want to put him in prime time because we saw the Washington football team put us to sleep. Washington is at home. They're getting 9 points. The total's 45, which I find to be incredibly odd, but it is 45. I lean to Washington plus the 9. I think this is an ugly game.
They're my sixth bet. That's my 6-star.
Really?
Yeah.
So hold on. So I'm done. I'm leaning to Washington. I would lean to the under. I don't have a lot on this game, but so you go ahead.
Tom Brady he doesn't do well against pressure. This line and this total is complete recency bias. They have bullied the Falcons, who have not been good most of the season, in 2 of their last 4 games, and they beat up on the Lions, who were without their coach, without their starting quarterback, in a game, like in a meaningless game. I'm not buying it. And this Washington football team, when Alex Smith is the starting quarterback, they're 5-1. Like it almost feels like this team, like who would not, like, could you imagine being out on the field playing for a guy like Alex Smith? Like the dude almost lost his fucking life, should never have played it down to football again. And you basically get to go to war for this guy, with this guy every week. Like that team was so different when Dwayne Haskins was starting. All of a sudden, Alex Smith comes back. I just see this Washington defense giving Tom Brady so many fits in the backfield, in the pocket, where he's going to get uncomfortable. They're not, though I do, look, I understand there's risk with this one. If Washington gets down 14 points in the first half, it's going to be tough for them to come back. But this one came up in one of my dynasty group chats, my first dynasty league ever, one of my favorite leagues right now. And I've never met any of these guys in person, but there's just a lot of giving each other shit, camaraderie, good trading, all that stuff, all you want in a dynasty league. And we're talking about this game. We talk about how Tom Brady hasn't done well against pressure this year. He also hasn't done well in evening games. That was part of my Rams over the Bucks, 6 or 7 weeks ago, whatever that was. But I asked the question today: who has better weapons, Matt Ryan over the past month, sans Julio Jones, or Alex Smith? Like, would you rather be playing with Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Hayden Hurst, and Antonio Gibson right now, or Terry McLaurin, Brian Hill, or Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and some ancillary pieces that get the job done? I feel like the world is still hanging on to some like everybody's hanging on to Matt Ryan of years ago and slow to adapt to, and Memphis has said it, like McLaurin is good, like McLaurin is great. Logan Thomas was like a point behind our beloved TJ Hawkinson in PPR this year. Like these, and Antonio Gibson is, like Matty Big Chest was doing a draft today, and he had to choose between Antonio Gibson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the 101, who leapt everybody when the beloved Chiefs and Andy Reid took him. I think Alex Smith might not be the guy who we want slinging it downfield. Maybe he's not the most mobile, but if he gets protection in the pocket, which Washington has done this year, he's 5-1 as a starter. Ron Rivera in the playoffs, I don't know, 9 points, 9.
I look at it this way. So I was looking, they're 0-3 against the spread in primetime games. That was one of my handicaps on this game. They're 0-3 against the spread, and they're 1-2 straight up. They lost to the Bears. That was the game where Tom Brady thought there were 5 downs in a game as opposed to 4. And then they lost at home to the Rams on Monday night. And then they barely escaped the New York Giants on Monday night. I like this. I like this more the more you're talking me into it. It's still going to be a like for me. But we're going to shuffle on over to the Sunday games where we've got some more action. And this next segment is brought to you by Hate Brand Goods. Now, if you follow along on Twitter with me and Dr. Kyle, last week They had a 50% off the entire store over at Hate Brand Goods. I stocked up because I couldn't even use my promo code because the 50% off was so good. I got some more shorts. I've got every style now but one. I'm waiting for the Mexican blanket ones to come back in. Got hooked up with a hoodie. Man, I did well. And you can still get a discount if you go to Hate Brand Goods and use the promo code Memphis. Again, the hyperlink is in the show notes on the podcast, or just go to The Hate. That's the HVIII.com and check them out, man. If you're looking to mix in some non-name brand Nike, Under Armour type stuff into your fashion game for the gym, I'm about that action. I got Dr. Kyle completely hooked.
Also known as Dr. Hot.
I was gonna say Dr. Hawkinson. But man, head over to Hate Brand, check him out. I will be doing my best to get Matt, the owner of the of the brand, over so you guys can really get a feel for what he's about and why I like him so much. Speaking of likes, let's get into the Sunday games because this is my 5-star. This is my second favorite game of the day. Baltimore at Tennessee. Tennessee's getting 3.5 at home and a total of 55. The over 55 is my 5-star rank in the game. I lean to Baltimore. I'll let you get into your handicap on this game, and then I'll take my turn when you're done.
I lean the over. The average points scored in a game this year was like 49 and change. And these are two offenses that are scoring at a pretty good clip. They both run the ball well, and neither really stops the run well. Tennessee really doesn't do anything on defense well. I would bet, based on the numbers I was looking at earlier, because I was looking at pass and run splits. Tennessee I think Tennessee is clearing away like the worst defense in the playoffs. Which defense is definitely not as important as offense, especially this year. But I think maybe as the stakes get higher, it's going to become more important. And for I already have money on the Ravens because I caught it at 3. Ravens laying 3. I just the last 2 times these teams met, it's been the Titans have just leaned on Derrick Henry, and the guy is coming off of another 380 carries this year. I don't want to I was betting him against him going into the season, and he just is proving us wrong. But it's like this is John Harbaugh. This is an elite coach. He is a top 6 or 7 coach in the league, probably. I don't think he's right there with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Bill Belichick, but I think he's in that next tier of guys. There is no way he is not I'm not going to joke about putting a bounty, but it is Derrick Henry is their game plan, because the Tennessee has actually not thrown the ball all that well. I think ever since they lost their left tackle and Taylor Lewan, they've honestly props to not Matt Patricia, sorry, the other ex-New England guy, Mike Vrabel and Arthur Smith, and their game plans, because they have managed to they've managed to come away with a lot of wins that probably could have gone either way. And I just don't think you can catch lightning in a bottle that many times. And I think the Ravens, this is such a revenge game. And the Titans they just don't stop the run. They don't generate any pressure. And that Baltimore offense, granted, it might be because of their easy schedule coming down the stretch, but they are pumping out points lately. And for those reasons, I'll take Baltimore just laying a field goal.
All right, if you can get that, I can't argue that. I've seen this number creep as high as 4 and 4.5 in some books. So good luck getting the 3 like Dr. Kyle. I like the over because these two teams have played once. The final score was 30-24. That's really close, but it's a little misleading. I mean, Tennessee has played games of total. So I'll just go back to the beginning of the season. The Jaguars, 63-point game. The Vikings, 61-point game. The Bills, 58-point game. Texans round 1, 78 points. The Steelers, 51 points. They lost to the Bengals in a game scored 51 points. The Colts, 51. Again, the Ravens, 54. The Colts, the second time, 71. The Browns game, 76. The Lions game, 71. The Packers game, 54. The Texans game just last week, 79. This is an over team. But if you do a little bit of digging, you will notice you're exactly right. Baltimore does a really good job of beating up on the Sisters of the Poor. They do a great job of beating up on the Jaguars who they played this year. They did hold the Colts to 10, which is a pretty good offense. But I just see nothing but fireworks in these two. And I have a faith that John Harbaugh will want to pay this team back for knocking him out of the playoffs. Continue to score and score and score. And here's the thing. Even if they're leaning on Derrick Henry, I've seen 70-point totals out of this team.
Yeah.
So they've still got A.J. Brown. They've still got Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith. And I could easily see this game being somewhere in the neighborhood of like 35-28 for an easy cover. This could be the funnest game of the weekend, to be real honest. I think the Colts game will be a fun game to watch. I think on Saturday they get gradually worse as you go along from an entertainment value. It still will be football, but I think the Colts and Buffalo is going to be a shootout. Then the Rams and the Seahawks is going to get ugly, and then Washington and Tampa Bay is going to be super ugly. And then we start right back over with some fun on Sunday morning. But I love the over. That's my second best bet of the week. My 5-star ranking is over 55, and actually it's down to 54.5 on, like, say, FanDuel. So let's move to the next game. Again, this is going to be that medium entertainment game, but I think this is going to be low-key fun. Chicago at New Orleans. New Orleans laying 10. Now, I have seen it drop. That's 10 on my bookie. And a total of 47.5. Now, I have seen that dip down to 9.5 on FanDuel and on DraftKings. Chicago plus 10 or even 9.5 for me, and I'll get into why. That's my 4-star ranked bet, and the over 47.5 is my second ranked bet. What do you have on this game, DK?
So for me, this was the hardest one to handicap. Like, obviously, I don't ever want to lay 9.5. I think I did lay 9.5 with the Saints at one point this season, and I don't think it went well. I just still like what good teams have the Bears hung with, and so but like there's so many question marks. Like the Saints had such a stretch without Breeze, they've had such a stretch without Thomas, and I think they're going to be out without Kamara this week. I think I lean the Bears, but I don't know. The Saints defense is good. The Saints pass defense is good. The Saints rush defense is good. Sean Payton, like what value do you put on Sean Payton as a coach in the playoffs versus Matt Nagy? Like, I don't know.
Let's think about the last 3 seasons. They've got to wonder what's going to happen next. You had the Minnesota Miracle 3 years ago. You had PI Gate. You had pass interference gate 2 years ago. And then last year you had the Rudolph rebound where he allegedly pushed off Kyle Rudolph, and they scored the touchdown. This is the team that is fighting demons. It's not the Bears. Here's a list. Are you ready? The Bears played they played 16 games, right? Are you ready for the list of teams that beat the Bears by 9.5 or more points? Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
The LA Rams and the Green Bay Packers twice. End of list. No other team, and they've played playoff teams Indianapolis, they played playoff Tampa Bay, they played playoff Tennessee, and they played this New Orleans Saints team who beat them by 3 points. I don't understand. I don't understand who they are to be giving the Bears 10 points. I'm fine with them, and the last game had Nick Foles, and like I said, they've got all the pressure on them. The Bears are playing with house money. They weren't supposed to be in the playoffs after losing 5 straight games at one point in the season. And here's why I like the over. The Saints have been in 9 games with a total of 49 or more this year. So more than half their games, they go over 49. And when you go in indoor games, the Saints, because they play Atlanta, they played Detroit this year, they played the Raiders. They played a total of 11 indoor games. And in indoor games, the scores of those games have totaled 55 points a game. This game's in the Dome. This total is only 47.5. That's why I like the total. And it does sound good that the Saints have played good defense. Yeah, there was a middle stretch of the year, to your point, where they beat up Atlanta twice. They beat up Denver without a quarterback. But here are some games where the Saints have been at home. They had an 82-point game against Minnesota. They had a 61-point game against Kansas City. They've had a game with a total of 51, 57, 67, 57 points. They have not gotten a lot of margin against playoff teams, except Tampa Bay. For whatever reason, they have Tampa Bay's number. And how do you make Drew Brees uncomfortable? You get after the passer. And yes, they may be getting Michael Thomas back for this game, but that does not make me think that they're going to go in there. This number is overinflated because of the recency bias of seeing Mitch Trubisky and the Bears struggle against Green Bay. Sometimes there's a team that just has your number, and for the Bears, that's Green Bay. But they played this team. They played this team very tight once already, and there's no fans in New Orleans. There's no maniacs on Bourbon Street hanging from the rafters, acting a fool. It's going to be an empty house. And Mitch Trubisky will be able to do his checks. I don't think that defense is as vaunted as we make it out to be. And it's not like they're going to stop scoring. So I don't see I don't see New Orleans pulling way ahead of this team. I really like Chicago plus the 10 if you can get the 10 because that's a key number.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it at 9.5. So that is my 4-star and 2-star. Did you have any stars?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm on that. I didn't star that one anywhere. I definitely clearly that's an over game because these teams have been in a lot of over games, and that total is 2 points less than the average total in a game this year. So yeah, and you might have just talked me into the Bears. I don't know. That's probably one where I'll just wait until game day and see if it's a number I like. Otherwise, I'll just not touch it. I think I might have already teased the Saints down to 3 or 3.5 somewhere. But otherwise, haven't touched it.
All right, let's go into the final game of the weekend. This number's already had the most movement due to some COVID-related issues. That's Cleveland at the Berg, at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is now laying 6.5. I've seen it float between. It initially came out.
I got it at 6.
Yeah, it came. I've seen it fluctuate from 3.5 to 6.5. It depends on where you get it. Obviously, you're not going to get it cheaper than 5.5 right now, but I still like Pittsburgh. That's Pittsburgh -6 that's the number on my bookie right now. That's my 1-star. The total's 47. I will tell you that if they had Stefanski, I would probably go over the 47. I would lean to the over. I'm not going to have a bet on that. That's not one of my 6. But to me, my fear is Stefanski stirs the drink. We saw Baker Mayfield is an average athlete. He's an average quarterback, and he needs Big Brother. Big Brother puts him in a position to win. And what happens after the first? Most head coaches or offensive coordinators, they write out 15 plays to script the game to begin with, and then they take it from there. What happens when those 15 plays are gone? Yeah. Then what? Then what? What's your next move? And
you're the New York Jets. The interesting stat about the Jets is they scored on their first drive something like 9 out of 10 of their first their 9 out of their first 10 games. You would never guess that, but the prime example of what happens when the script is no longer, useful.
And you saw the same thing against Jacksonville. I think they won either 25-27 or 27-29. I know they beat them by 2 and didn't cover. Yep. It was, and that's what happens. And did you see the way Baker was celebrating when they clinched the game? He kneeled it out and they won. They picked up the first down. I mean, he acted like they won the national championship in college when he was at Oklahoma. That was this. And then you get this deflating news. You're not going to have your head coach, not having Kahale Lodge. I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's not a big deal, but you're not going to have Joe Bitonio, the Pro Bowl guard. Yep. That's not a big deal if you're facing Indy. That's not a big deal if you're facing Buffalo. That's not even a big deal if you're facing Kansas City. But you know what? It's a big damn deal when you're facing Pittsburgh. How do you get Baker Mayfield, disorganized and rattled? You put pressure on him. Hey, guess which team has the most sacks in the NFL? Pittsburgh Steelers. Guess which team creates the most pressure in the NFL? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Guess which team knocks the quarterback down the most? Pittsburgh Steelers. They average 4 knockdowns a game. They average almost 5 hurries a game. And they average almost 4 sacks a game. And you're going to take a Pro Bowler off of the offensive line? I know Jedrick Wills missed a game a couple of weeks ago. Jack Conklin has missed time this year. I know that offensive line's very good when everyone's there and playing. So even without Bud Dupree, the other edge rusher besides TJ Watt, it really does not bother me. I don't mind laying the 7. I get a clear head coaching matchup because
Oh
Stefanski's
yeah,
not here. Tomlin's
yeah,
got tons of playoff experience, and playoff
yep,
experience matters. It really
yeah,
does. We saw last year, and even though you may not have liked him, we saw Bill O'Brien with the Houston Texans was able to get a playoff win over Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, clearly the superior coach and a
yep.
very good quarterback. I would have I would have Watson and Allen very close to each other as a quarterback talent, but the team with playoff experience won. Bob beat McDermott, the superior coach, partially based off of experience. He has, been through a lot of playoffs with the Patriots. He had won the division several times when he was in Houston, and I think there's something about it. You got to go right back to Pittsburgh. Tough spot for the Browns.
Yep.
I don't want to put myself over. That was one of my big hits on the season. I said the Browns would make a wild card this year, and here we are. So I feel really good about the team. I have a lot of friends in Cleveland from both the
Already
dynasty.
celebrating because they made the playoffs.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's the first time this iteration of the Browns has made the playoffs. The old expression, act like you've been there before,
Hell
is
yeah.
a saying because act like you've been there before. And between the Baker celebration when they closed out the game and the reaction of the fans, now, in fairness, Cleveland is playing with house money. They know they're not supposed to win this game, so maybe they come in loose, maybe they come in relaxed. But for me, this is all about the Cleveland defense is not great. I think the thing you're not hearing a lot about, you're hearing a lot about Stefanski and you're hearing a lot about Batonio. You're not hearing much about Olivier Vernon, the other defensive end behind Myles Garrett, who when Garrett gets double teamed and a lot of attention from the offensive line, that freed up Olivier Vernon. You don't have him anymore. So the Cleveland is just, it's like you get something really good and they take something really good away. I recently did this with my son. My son is building a custom computer, and we
Cool.
ordered a part. And I said, son, I got good news and I got bad news for you. Okay. The good news is your part's on the way. And he was very excited. He is used to ordering stuff with his mom through Amazon. And he was excited. I was like, so the good news is your package is on the way. The bad news is it's coming USPS. So I don't know when it will be here. I got a tracking number. It may be next week. Now, in fairness to the USPS, it did come fairly quickly. It came on the day Best Buy said it would be here. But that's Cleveland fans right now. We gave them something really good, something to be excited about, like my son was about getting his new computer part. Hey, you're going to go to the playoffs, but we're gonna kick you in the junk on the way out the door and tell you we're going to take away. Let's say we're going to take away an edge rusher. We're going to take away a Pro Bowl guard and the guy who schemes the whole thing up. Yeah, we're going to take all that away from you. So we gave you something really good while taking something really good away. I actually feel bad for the people of Cleveland, but it's going to be hard for me not to go with the Steelers minus the 6. I would go all the way to 6.5. I wouldn't lay a tutty,
No,
but I will say this Pittsburgh offense, the last couple of games between the Indy game and the game against Cleveland just last week where they scored 22 with
I'm
backup,
figuring it out.
with they're starting to put some things
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
So
I had the exact same thought, and not to mention like where are the Browns good on defense in the run game, where are the Steelers bad on offense in the run game. So like even the strength and weaknesses doesn't give the Browns any advantage. I think I just don't see any advantage the Browns have in this game, especially without their head coach, who is the Sean McVay to Baker Mayfield, who is probably a better version of Jared Goff at this point.
and that's my fear. Like I said, the first quarter, if I were going to do anything with the Browns, I would probably do like their first half total, because I'm going to
Yeah.
get those 15 scripted plays, and I
I
can see
like
them
that. That's a
having a
good
little.
thought.
I can see them having a little success early. So if I want to do anything, I might look at the first half. See if I can catch maybe the book given a little too much love to Pittsburgh in the first half. If I can get
Yeah.
Cleveland, say
3.5 or 4.
plus three. That's exactly the number I was thinking about, was plus 3.5. Maybe I
Yeah.
fire on that first half line. But then once those 15 plays run out, and then if Cleveland happens to fall behind, they're in a really bad spot. And I know there's been a historical precedent with the Detroit coaching staff out against that Tampa Bay game, but that's kind of apples and oranges. Yes, the coach was out, but it wasn't like it was a good team. I think they'll be okay. The person calling the play is a veteran quarterback coach. And the good thing for Cleveland is they had a lot of time to plan for this. They found out on Monday that they were losing him, so that they've got a whole mess of time. It's the very last game of the weekend, so they've got a mess of time to get this right. But that's why it's my 1 star. That's why it's my 1. So I'm going to review mine real quick. My 6 star is the Colts. My best bet of the weekend is the Colts and Bills over 51. My 5 star is Tennessee and Baltimore over 55. You can actually get that at 54.5 in some shops, but that's my number 4. Excuse me, my number 5. My number 4 is the Chicago Bears getting 10. Now, again, it's dipped a little bit. I've seen it at 9.5 in some shops, but I like the Bears getting 10 at New Orleans. I think New Orleans wins the game, but I think this game is something like 34-27, something like that. That feels like the right score, because we've seen Mitch Trubisky put up points against the Vikings in a couple of games this year, and that's a pretty good defense, even though it's been a young defense. So that's why that's my 4. My 3 star is the under with the Rams and the Seahawks under 42.5. My 2 star is the over in the Saints and the Bears. The Saints and the Bears over 42.5. And then my 1 star is Pittsburgh laying 6 at home against the Cleveland Browns. So there you go. What are your 6, Dr. Kyle?
Just to let the folks know, the Bears are currently getting 9.5, but minus 105 on my bookie. And what was the other one? The total in the Ravens-Titans game is officially at 54.5, minus 110 on my bookie as well. So if you want those numbers that Memphis talked about being, some of the best out there, they are on my bookie. Well, the 10 for the Bears is not on my bookie, but you're laying less juice for the 9.5 at least. My 6 in order, my 6-pointer is the Washington football team getting 9. I then have my 5-pointer is Colts and Bills over 51. My 4 is the Steelers laying 6 against Cleveland. Shout out to my boy Jim Slade says, who's just lighting fire in the comments chat over here. I love it. He's active. He's watching what he has to say about the Steelers. First game against a winning team was week 8. But if you look at the Steelers schedule, they beat they beat the Browns, a playoff team, in week 5 by 31. They then beat the Titans. They let the Titans come back to within a field goal in week 6. They then beat the Ravens, a clear rival. And all this is amidst their COVID shit show, where Memphis said they had, an early week 5 bye, but it wasn't really a bye week because they were practicing leading up to that weekend. And then we're told they would have a bye. They then, couple powder puff games with the Cowboys, Bengals, Jaguars, beat the Ravens again. And then it was a really bad series of coming off of short rest, injury, short rest, yada, yada. I really think the Steelers are back on an upswing. Unfortunate that it happened on my week of a big bet of taking the Colts, who were, putting points up on everybody, and the Steelers, who couldn't, find 20 points if you shot them in the face with it. But the Steelers offense, I think, found their groove, and I think now that they're going to be a bit rested, especially with, a veteran, older offensive line and quarterback and Big Ben. I just feel, and the coaching, you said it's so big in the playoffs. So give me Mike Tomlin over a missing Stefanski. So that was my 4. My 3 is Rams Seahawks under 42.5. My 2 is Ravens minus 3. And my number 1, as in my 6th highest rank, is Bills laying 6.5 against the Colts.
All right. Well, if you like some of these bets, you need to get on them. I was checking some books while Dr. Kyle was reviewing, because I never pay any attention to anything he says anyway. But that Bears number is 10 on DraftKings with juice to the over. You're going to lay $1.14 to get the 10. On FanDuel, you will you only lay $1.05 to get the Bears at 9.5. So you can shop this around, and you're going to get some numbers that you may or may not like. The Washington Tampa Bay game is down to 8 on one book and 7.5 on the other over, and the other from 9. So there's already some line moves. So if you're into this, get going, get down, have some action. Remember, the DFS stuff will be covered on Saturday with Tyler and Lou. And I'll be here on Saturday with the People's Propcast, going to look to go 11 straight winning weeks. You may have to follow me on Twitter to get that 1 p.m. Bills and Colts props. I may not have time to get it to you by 1. But if you want them by 1, if you want to have them in time to get action, follow me on Twitter at DWZMemphis. And you can follow Dr. Kyle at DWZ_Dr. PT. Dr. Kyle, you have anything for these people before we get them out of here?
Guys, we get the most football in a weekend all year. We got 6 games. Enjoy it. Bask in it.
From a television standpoint, you are correct. You are correct. You will have football for about 10 hours on Saturday, and then they'll come right back with another 10 hours on Sunday. But as far as overall content, that was just most recently last weekend when you had all 16 games and it was very congested. But as far as
I'm saying watchable, like how many hours you're sitting on the couch,
uninterrupted football,
breaking records. Guys, let's break records. The least. Guys, tweet at me screenshots of how few steps you take this Saturday and this Sunday. If I can get my wife to walk the dog Saturday or Sunday this week, you will see records from me. We're talking like 400 steps.
There's the laziest. Not me, man. I'll get up early and I'll hit that gym early. But his name is Dr. Kyle. He's the dirtiest player in the game today. I am your host, Memphis. And remember, here at the Big Bet, we'll tell you that money won is twice as sweet as money earned. We'll catch you here soon for some more football content from the DWZ Football Network. Have a great week, guys.